Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Live. My name is Naledi Moleo, coming to you live from the Durban Exhibition Center, where we bring you the second day of the Govtech 2022 conference, brought to you by the State Information Technology Agency, as well as the South African Department of Communications and Technological or Digital Technologies. We're now really at this conference that essentially has been put together to build government relations between them and business, as well as the ICT sector, to make services and government services digital and paperless. But really at the heart of this event is SITA, the State Information Technology Agency, and I'm joined now by the Deputy Chair of SITA, speaking to us now, Dr. Stella Vuma. Good morning to you, Mama. Thank you so much for giving us your time. It's day two. How are you feeling about the progress made by the conference so far?
Good morning, Naledi, and to the viewers. The conference is really going well. It has exceeded our expectations in terms of the strategy that we have set out for the conference. We're very excited to see that we have participation from our neighboring countries. You have Namibia Minister here who was on the roundtable discussion. We also have, Zambia. We also have our industry partners. And very exciting, personal to my heart, we also have SMMEs who are exhibiting here, about 50 of them. And I think that's a great achievement for us.
Yeah. You also have the launch of Digitech yesterday. Very exciting, right? Tell us exactly about what it is, what it aims to achieve, and also who's involved.
Digitech is the brainchild of the minister. We must give credit to her. As you know, she is the former executive of SITA at some point before she became, the minister. She was there, so she understands the industry very well. So the platform was launched yesterday. We're very excited about it. It took quite a lot of work from the SITA executives involved in the API space, in the digital space, to develop this platform, which is more like an app store platform in simpler terms, or a Google app store where people are going to shop in. We're hoping that our neighboring countries will also take the opportunity. And the voice is really to say that we do not want to be consumers of these technologies, that we believe that we have the talent in the country, and as SITA we are positioning ourselves as the agency to say we want to lead in the space of creating solutions that solve our societal problems.
Yeah. One thing that you've done this year, I mean, this conference has been going for a very long time, but what you've done this year is you have involved other African countries, and you've wanted to make it a continental discussion about digitizing government services. Who's involved? Who have you brought in from the rest of the continent, and why was it important for you to go that route?
Look, we really involved almost everyone because we believe that Africa is one, and with our interrelationship, when we talk technology and we say integration, we're also looking at that integration from the continental perspective. So we have, like I've mentioned before, the Ministry of Namibia, we also have Zambia, we also had Ethiopia, so we have quite a lot. We have ITU who was also here, but the objective was to really say that how do we then get to make the continent take ownership of leading in the IT space as well, because we believe that it's not only an international standard. On the national space we can have a voice, and we are doing that.
What are we learning from the rest of the continent, right, in terms of really the progress that we're making? I mean, we've got now this Africa Free Trade Area. One would hope that digitizing services brings us closer to seeing more intra-Africa trade.
I mean, if you look at this whole thing, behind being the tech person myself, I do know that we're excited about implementation, we're excited about coming up with IT solutions, but behind it actually it's an ecosystem where all of this ICT services is not really about fiber optics, zettabyte, 4IR. It's really about the people. It's really about how do we then make sure that citizens are attended to with immediate effect. And I'll put an example of your Home Affairs. We we're really saying it's not really to say paperless in terms of the employees themselves, but also to say how do we bring agility in ensuring that we deliver the right services using technology, because technology for us is an enabler. So in a nutshell, we are saying Africa Free Continental Services, if you talk about it, we're looking at e-commerce. How do we make that platform to be existent, but also regulatory partners must also participate in terms of guiding us and making sure that we break the barriers of the red tapes and the policies that really make it difficult.
I'm looking at when we look at the Digitech platform that's being built and the opportunities that brings to small to medium enterprises, very exciting. But also quite exciting about Govtech 2022 is the involvement of multinationals that are essentially here. I mean, what have those discussions really been like, right? About what it is that they can offer African governments. And really, what does that relationship look like at this point with big business in the digital space and our governments?
I mean, I think the relationship is really good. The attendance really is evidence in providing that backbone of saying we are here. And we as SETA as well, we are saying that we are not coming in to say we're going to do this on our own. The truth is we need our partners to really come and join hands with us and assist us in paving this paperless and making sure that, as the minister has said, this administration must ensure that, we go paperless. And paperless is really around the theme that we are having, digitizing and digitalization. And in simpler terms, it's really to say how do we make technology to enable the government to ensure that we deliver services in agility. Yeah.
How do you know that this conference has worked? At the end of all of it, how do you tick the boxes and say, okay, it was successful?
I mean, definitely for us, it's really not ticking up the boxes. But if I were to tick the boxes in day one, having the SMMEs coming to pitch, having a hybrid session, thanks to the CEO of the year for me, which is the pandemic, I think it really made ICT to be at the forefront to say we're here, we've been in existence. And one of the things that I discussed in the roundtable yesterday was to say that, we often don't hear a lot of people clapping hands for IT, the technologists in their own space, in their own departments, but pull the plug. That's when you start hearing a floodgates of complaints. We are not connected, we can't get this. But I think, we're really saying that we want to celebrate them, and we did that last night by giving awards to appreciate the sector itself, to say, we hear you, we see you. But one of the things that I also want to mention, Naledi, is the issue of infrastructure. It's the backbone of what we do as well. And that's also the success of having the ITUs coming in to say, we here, having Centec as well as also one of our collaborators. So we're really saying that it's an ecosystem where we need everybody to partake in this digital economy.
Yeah. That there, Dr. Stella Vuma, Deputy Board Chair of the State Information Technology Agency. Thank you so much for your time. They, of course, are the host of Govtech 2022, and we talked as well with Dr. Vuma about why this conference, particularly this year, is so important, because we have seen the collaboration between South African government and also how they've worked very closely to ensure that they speak as well to leaders as well across the continent, so that we are able to share ideas as African countries about how to start digitizing digital services. And in fact, just to take that conversation forward, I am going to, thank you so much, Dr. Vuma, I am going to bring in now Mr. Peya Mushelenga, who is the Minister of Information and Communication Technology from Namibia. Sir, welcome to South Africa, and thank you so much for giving us your time.
Thank you very much.
Tell us why it was important for the Namibian government to be part of this event.
Well, as you know, the two countries are neighboring countries. First, we have a binational commission between the two countries. We do cooperate in various areas, of course, ICT being one of them. Already, when I came here yesterday, my counterpart, Honorable Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, and I started talking about trying to talk to our institutions of higher learning in order to train people in the field of artificial intelligence. And we are already talking about cooperation, possible cooperation between our institutions of higher learning.
And it's a very interesting, right, this idea of starting to share knowledge between the two countries. How are we doing, though, in terms of using the digital spaces, though, to stay connected, right? Even where it comes from the point of trade between the two countries and also across the continent.
Yes, currently there is not much going, but there are various options that can be explored. Particularly when you talk about trade. When we digitalize trade services, it will be easy, particularly between business entities from both two countries. You will be able to immediately know that your suppliers have these goods and services, or these goods and services that you require will be able to be found from which supplier, how long it will take, and when you order, you will be able to trace this all the way so that you do not lose anything on the way. You will be able to know various prices offered by various suppliers and so forth.
What is the relationship looking like now between African governments and big business? We certainly have seen them in the room yesterday, as well as they continuing to be in the room in conversations with yourselves as well today. What's the trust there like, and what does that relationship need to look like for us to start seeing that digitization of our services from governments?
First, you need a relationship of trust and good faith. I was talking yesterday at a roundtable conference about digital inclusion. You cannot have digital inclusion only spearheaded by the government without the private sector being involved. Because with digital inclusion, you look also at the area of training, and you cannot do training without those that are in the industry. When you talk about digital inclusion, you talk about financial inclusion. And financial inclusion can only be spearheaded by those in the financial sector, the banking institutions, financial institutions, and so forth. When you talk about digital inclusion, you also possibly look at assistive inclusion. How do we make sure that people with disabilities, people with challenge in terms of eyesight, in terms of hearing, how are they able to be brought on board? You can't do this government alone. Thus, you need a relationship of trust between the government and the private sector.
One hopes that we're able to see that come out of this conference. How do you know, when you head back to Namibia, that this was a fruitful conference?
I know that it was a fruitful conference because we had very good discussions also in terms of how we can roll out information technology to schools. When I go back, I know how South Africans are doing it, and it is a model that we can adapt in Namibia.
Mr. Moshelenga, thank you so much for speaking to us, Minister. An absolute pleasure, and thank you for giving us your time. Mr. Peya Moshelenga, the Minister of Information and Communication Technology from Namibia, who has spent the day yesterday in communication, sharing ideas with our very own communications Minister, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, talking about really how we start to digitize government services so that service delivery can be improved. I head back to you in studio.